I just got a big shock 21 years ago. I was supposed to come to Norway for 6 months, and so this has been one of my lectures about. So it's a bit, how am I going to start now? I didn't know what to talk about. I knew you weren't allowed to talk about architecture, and I was going to talk about maybe the international background I've had. I lived in 7 different countries, and my dad worked with Air Canada, and I flew around the world and did all this weird stuff. And that part of it, I was going to talk about my life in Norway. But then I realized that there was a program about me on NRK, about my house, so people saw how I lived there. And then this summer, I was getting text messages all summer that I was on TV every Saturday night about the Fogo. So I said, people kind of know a bit about me. But I just started thinking about what's on my mind now. And 3 years ago, there was a big change I'll talk about in my life that happened to me. And it's basically, I'm going to talk about decisions. And it's kind of fascinating. Is there any way to turn on that light there? Or yeah. What I've been noticing is that I meet about 50 to 100 people a week. And I'm extremely curious in meeting people. And I'm always asking questions. I have friends of mine that they get shocked about how much I can find out about a person in about 3 minutes. And I just go in and deep and eat my mouth. I'm just very curious of the decisions people make. And I've seen some extremely poor decisions people make. You know, like I go back to Canada every 3 or 4 years, and you see a person you haven't seen in 15 years, and they're like 5 times the size as they were before, and you're like, okay, they've decided to eat this way every day, and it was like a collection, and this person made this decision, and this person made this, and they tell you their story, their life story, and it's all, you're thinking, there's good decisions here and there's bad decisions. And I was like, okay, how are people making these? And I started reading a bit more about decision making, and there's about 1,000 decisions you make a day. And I'm turning 50 now in November, and I was realizing the older and older and older I got, the more and more decisions I had to make, and it was exhausting me. I was getting all these weird situations, and I just started realizing, did I have any principles of making decisions? And the only one I ever really reflected over was when Bruce Mouw is a Canadian graphic designer. He worked with Rem Koolhaas on the small, medium, extra large book. He's worked on the Seattle City Library. And in his manifesto when I went to architecture school, he said, today comes your tomorrow. And that was actually the only kind of philosophy I had, and it was based on decisions I was making. I said, whatever I do today will most likely be what I do tomorrow, and it becomes a habit. And I noticed that in the good and bad situation. My bad habits, I kept doing them, and they added up to a pile of shit. And the good stuff, it actually was like, 9 months later, it's like, that actually works. So that became a principle. And there's another thing, coin flipping. I was 22 years old. I studied as an exchange student at the Rhode Island School of Design. A woman called Maria Aubach hired me in her office in Vienna. So I said, okay, Maria, I'm going to come for 3 months and work at your office, and then I'm going to take a year and a half off between my undergrad and master's degree. I didn't have a friggin' clue what I was going to do. So I finished at Maria's, said goodbye to my apartment, and I'm walking down to the train station, and I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going.